the volunteers.
As the
and the patrons
volunteering and just community that has always made us who we are and who we need to continue to be. Yeah, Maya was just up here talking about the medics, but unfortunately our other people that talk about all the other volunteering jobs are unable to make it physically here. So, security. We all know we need security. There's a bunch of drunk people doing a bunch of silly things, and we need to make sure we don't need the medics too much.
Please.
Oh my goodness. So, we need people to sign up for security shifts, troll shifts to make sure that Galadriel doesn't spend her entire time up under the tent,
Trying to kill us all.
plotting
Plotting to
and, and having a bad time. Galadriel has been, I don't want to say walked over, but she's been used and taken for granted from a lot of Mirkwood. She's been with us a very long time. She was there before I was. I'm pretty sure she was there before Damien was.
Oh yeah, she's old school.
And she does so much for not only Mirkwood, but for Rag itself. She is how we managed to be able to do pretty much anything that we've been able to do the past couple of years or longer. So please, help her out, help us all out, take a troll shift, take a security shift, and please, I know Damon's already mentioned this, pre-reg. We need to be able to secure a new spot. I know that morale has been low in a lot of our individual groups towards the collective. A lot of groups I know are planning to camp outside of Mirkwood, but I'm trying to draw you all back in. We have a lot of land available to us. We have rows that we can put ourselves in. We can probably even manage to maintain groups within those rows as well, because we have a decent amount of property that is available to us if we can pre-reg.
I have a question.
Sure.
A lot of people that I've heard wanting to camp elsewhere are doing so to avoid the rowdiness of Mirkwood camp. Are we going to try with the new location to keep that somewhat down? Or because we don't have Mardi Gras anymore, is that too much, as much of a concern?
I'll take over. For people who didn't hear the question, it was a lot of people were worried about camping in Mirkwood proper because of over rowdiness, and what we're going to try and do to help that out. The big thing I think we're going to try and do is, I think we'd gone up to like a 10. We want to keep it down to like a 6 or a 7 is the big thing. As I like to have a good time, I love my shenanigans and debauchery as much as anybody else. Especially during the day, though, I think we're going to try and limit it to as much as we can. And then nighttime, it's going to be more, again, closer to like maybe a 7 or a 6, 7, 8 instead of a 10. So like people are allowed to, still have a really good time, but we're going to try and keep the rowdiness down a little bit. That's at least my current. Those are the current plans.
All right, this is start your bylaws, sir.
Okay. Now we're going to discuss bylaw stuff, and hopefully get this all on video so that it'll be up and stored on the Mirkwood site or on YouTube for whenever we need it. The big thing, I got my bylaw sheets right here. Big thing, people who haven't looked at it yet. It's only 6 pages. If you want to ever print it out, it's actually not all that long right now. It is an updated document, so I'll get into that here in a second. So it starts off with Emperor. This is a non-voted position that is handed off through the royal line. This is the one piece of monarchy we're really keeping. So I was part of the royal line, and I was named Emperor by Mo. It was left to me to try and make things work from there on out. And I've named Burble as my crown princess. So how that process works is basically the emperor will always name either a crown princess or a crown prince to help them run Mirkwood. So it's always going to be a 2-person system. This way, you have someone who is able to help them or take over. Say if I get into a bad car accident tomorrow, Burble can take over temporary leadership of Mirkwood, and we don't ever have to
Where's
stop.
the wood? Please knock.
Yeah, thank you for knocking on wood,
I don't
Burble.
think there's real wood in this one.
And she'll handle a lot of things. If you ever want to send anything up, go talk to Burble. She's more than happy to listen to any complaints or anything we have, and then send it up to either the council or myself. for anything we need. The next thing that we have underneath these two people are the Mirkwood Council. Starting in 2017 at RAG, we're going to, votes are going to be announced, for who you can vote for is going to be announced at Conclave. So if you're interested in having one of the positions we're going to talk about,
Please
contact us.
Communication.
And we'll have, yeah, and you'll be on the slate to be voted on between Conclave and Ragnarok. So 2017 Conclave is when all the positions will open up, and then everybody will put in their bids to be that to be either on the council or warden of their state. Then from that, from Conclave to RAG, everybody will vote, and then who wins those elections will be announced at RAG of 2017. And from that RAG to the next RAG, you'll run that position. Wardens are going to be on a 5-year schedule, where then the council membership will vote every year. If anybody has any problems with their council rep or the warden for their particular group, a majority of that group can vote, can vote and then contact the council for a revote if something comes up. Also, none of these positions are immune to any of the other bylaw rules, so if they get into trouble and become a probationary member, they're automatically void their position because they can't hold one as a probationary member. Okay, we'll get into the specific council positions now. On the Mirkwood Council is a 6-person council that's chaired by the Emperor. We vote on everything, and basically that is Mirkwood whole. So all the national events I'm going to get into that we're participating in, any rules and regulations that are going to add into the bylaws, anytime that we have to have a disciplinary meeting, that all goes to the council. The council's other jobs are specifically to help run their section of Mirkwood. So the council representation spots are the Seneschal rep, the watch master or mistress, the artisan rep, war marshal, the knights rep, and the treasurer. Holding that button down, actually, just hurt. So the big thing for, so I'll go into each of these and then tell them what they're doing. So if you have been a seneschal, knight, or artisan, contact the reps that I'm going to be talking about so that they know that you're in their groups and we can count you for the voting phase for next year. That's a big thing why I set people up for this year, is to make sure that we could get everybody so we'll know who can vote for next year. So that's why we had set positions for this year. That was the big reason. The first thing we'll go through, Seneschal rep is, we'll represent all the Seneschals of Mirkwood. The Seneschals, the Seneschals is the peerage group that we have for running things and so party planning. It's all the logistical side of peerage. And that's currently ran by Galadriel. So if you have already been announced as a Seneschal, get with Galadriel so that you guys can all talk about things and she could help set you up for what the way she's going to help streamline the Seneschal group. If you're interested in being a Seneschal or any of the other peerage groups I'm about to talk about, get with the rep and they could get the closest person to help you become one of these groups. So basically, it's like the Knights thing. You start it like a page, and then go up from there in your process. The next group is the Watchmaster and Mistress. They're in charge of the watch, and specifically helping write regulations for how the watch is going to run, and then getting everybody's information when they put somebody on watch, so that we know who is what. Also, they're helping me try and get a census of everybody in the kingdom. We're probably going to start either a new file, or we actually have one on the site right now that is where everybody is by state. The one we have on the site right now needs updated really badly though. So we might start a new one instead. But I'm really trying to get a census of who's still in Mirkwood, who's the new people we have in Mirkwood that didn't get counted. And so we all know who everybody is. Yeah, and where everybody is. But that's their job. The artisan rep, like the Seneschal rep, runs that part of the peerage, and it's all of your artisans. Anybody who makes anything, or is interested in learning how to make things, talk to Twinkle, and she can set you up with the artisans we already have. Again, if you already named a master artisan, please get with her so we know who everybody is. A war marshal. This one's a little bit different. This is basically my stick jock advisor. So the idea for a war marshal is that unlike all the rest of them who are going to be voted on, every year we're going to have a war marshals tournament at RAG, and the winner of that tournament is going to get to be war marshal for the next year. And they're going to help lead the armies of Mirkwood and help us work on our fighting aspect. So there'll probably be maybe some videos throughout the year that they'll help for training and things like that. And if anybody's got any training questions or fighting questions or anything like that, go to Roic, and he can help set up your units or groups and help give you ideas about how better you can do training or fighting or any of that thing. If you have someone you want us to go to war with, go to Roic and we'll talk about it, and we could possibly, do especially like in character cool fights, and then we can try and get everybody together and show up in your state and go go fight another group. I mean, we're all about that. The next one is the Knights rep, which is currently Hamish. The Knights is probably something most people are more aware of for the peerage. And if you are a Knight, if you've been a Knight in Mirkwood, get with Hamish. But this is the fighting aspect of peerage. So if you're more interested in that, there's some other aspects to it. If you're interested in knighting, talk to Hamish and he can get you to the closest knight in your area. And then the last one is the treasurer, who's involved in financing and projects. She's going to be talking about some of the projects we have today. Here coming up, she'll be talking about projects that we have in the pipeline and funding. We're totally work on volunteerism and donations. I'm never going to have a membership fee or anything like that. It's just not the way we run. Or mandatory volunteerism, which isn't volunteering. That's voluntoldism. Can we move both cameras over this way so we can look at the thing? Yeah, I think that's a good one. Okay, the next part is the wardens. Wardens are in charge of keeping track of who in each state is a, it's it. Their duties are thoughts. They make the feelings of their state known. So if you have anything that also, if you don't want to get a hold of Verbal, get a hold of the warden of your state and have things go up the chain to either the council or me. Go right ahead. Florida is Gladrill, Texas is Tusk, Illinois is Bucci, Pennsylvania is Odegan, Ohio is Filtern, and the Carolinas are Duo. If you feel that your state isn't represented and you have enough people in your state, get a hold of me and we'll assign a warden for your state. These are just the ones that we have right now. Their other duties are to decide Mirkwood events for their state. If they want to, if there is an event going on in their state, a day battle or a weekend event, they can declare that that's a event for their state, and basically everybody who's Mirkwoodian in that state should try and show up to that, and other Mirkwoodians from other surrounding states should try and show up to that. How that works is that to be a voting member in Mirkwood, you have to show up to at least 2 sanctioned events per year. That could be a statewide event, or that could be a national event. Our current national events are only so far Conclave and RAG. We'll be adding some after Conclave. That's our next meeting is going to be about that. And then hopefully wardens will be posting them as since season's starting to get coming and we actually know what the event schedule is going to be looking like, I'm going to be getting on my wardens to start declaring events, sanctioned events, so that people can go to things.
I was going to throw it in, but the only issue is both of them are on the same weekend now.
Yeah, I understand double booking and stuff like that, but I mean, just that's the hard choices you got to make about which ones we want to try and get to, so that we're not as spread out on events, and we can try to like focus which events we get into and can show bigger presences at events instead of being very scattered. Because really, Dagger Hair really hits the ground at events. Practices are great. Hanging out with everybody, I love to hang out with all of you guys. But sanctioned events means that we try to have a concerted effort to all show up to the same things at the same time. That's the real idea about it. And 2 events are real easy. If you showed up to this event in RAD, you already did. So more people coming to Conclave wouldn't be a bad thing, but like I said, we're hoping to have a whole bunch of sanctioned events for you to show up to as well.
Do you want to go over any of the cult systems or?
Rules and regulations is going to be a thing, but that can be later on. We can go over the.
Ordinance, we touched on voting, abuse of power clause, I think we've already mentioned.
Why don't you do your planning stuff, and then I'll do rules and regulations after that.
I'll do treasure.
Okay.
All right, note from the Treasury. I believe we have about 270 something odd dollars right now in the Treasury. So far we've had 3 donations ourselves, Damien and I included in that so far this year. Projects on the table. We would like to be able to build the funds to be able to make a public like safe spot, like when the weather's bad or whatnot, just like the GP medium that we had back at Spring Valley. I would like to try and find something that might be a bit lighter, maybe not as pain in the butt to put up, but we will go with what we come across, and as the money builds, as always, I will post options to be voted on for what we want. Another segment that we're going with right now is we need more wall segments because, as mentioned earlier, we are getting a bigger chunk of territory. We are no longer surrounded by woods, but we are backed by them. But we need to be able to wall off our shenanigans a little bit better. So far, with where our finances lay now, that's most likely the project that's going to take priority if we don't get more funds to do the bigger projects. Damon already mentioned that he would like to do some more, do the towers again for our wall. So far, I just believe we have those 3 projects in the running. There will be a little segment later on, an idea for a party for Mirkwood that is invite only, diamonds only. So there's always expenses that come with that. So we'll get into that a little bit later, or should I go ahead and
You can go into it now if you want. I mean, we're already talking about it.
All right. Well, since I'm already on it, the idea of the party that we have in mind this year is called a bubbling bacchanalia, and which we would like to have bubble machines, kiddie pools for like wrestling filled with like bubbly, slippy stuff. Togas, because it's a very inexpensive piece of clothing. You buy a sheet from anywhere of a color you want. We have at least 7 people that I know of that can wrap proper togas. Get your little blings on with the brooches or leaves or whatever. So it's an inexpensive option for a party clothing last minute thing. If we can manage to have fountains working, which I'm not sure how our electricity plays out. But we would like to have different like wine mixes, sangrias and whatnot. A lot of your beers and goodness for those who don't like wine, and then we'll have some of the harder stuff for those who don't drink the other options. Yeah, I believe it sounds like a good time. It's low key, but still a lot of good fun. We may try and implement some games and whatnot. Do our research on ancient Greece games and hoopla. So if you're interested, leave me a message. If you have any ideas to add to that, questions, concerns, and whatnot for that specific item, contact me.